Hi, it's me again, Becky Thomas Iyer. Well, we are heading into my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving. I think it's because gratitude literally got me through the most difficult times in my life, and I am not kidding. In fact, after listening to podcast number 10, which speaks a little bit about how gratitude is turning what we have into enough, someone asked me to come and speak for a group of ladies last week on that exact topic. Well, while I was preparing the presentation, I was reminded of a great story that I heard many years ago. It was given by Janet Lee. Janet was a school teacher, and she basically retired so that she could raise her children. And she made sure that each of her kids were well prepared before they ever went off to kindergarten. She made sure they knew their numbers and their colors and how to write and the whole bit. Well, she took her youngest daughter, Stephanie, to her first day of kindergarten and to meet the teacher. And the teacher looked at little Stephanie and she pointed to a box of crayons. And she said, "Go ahead, Stephanie, choose your favorite color crayon and write your name." Little Stephanie just sat there. She didn't budge. Janet was still in the room and she's thinking, "Come on, Stephanie, you know how to do this. We've been practicing." The teacher said it again. "Go ahead, Stephanie. Choose your favorite color crayon and write your name." And little Stephanie just sat there. Well, Janet was just dying, and because she knew her daughter was smarter than that, but she also knew that it wasn't the time to get involved, and so she left. At the end of the school day, she picked up Stephanie, and on the way home, she said, "Stephanie, how come you didn't write your name? You're so good at doing that." And little Stephanie said, "Because my favorite color crayon wasn't in the box." Pink was her favorite color, and that wasn't one of her choices, so she didn't participate at all. Well, Janet went on to talk about how each of us have colors in our lives. Those are the characteristics of your lives. Maybe you are single, maybe you're divorced, maybe you're married, maybe you're widowed, maybe you have 10 kids, maybe you have 2 kids, maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you live in a house, maybe you live in an apartment. Maybe you have lots of friends or few friends. Maybe you have a job. Maybe you're healthy. Maybe you're not healthy. Whatever these characteristics are, they are the colors of our lives. And she talked about how there'll be times in our lives when we are going to lose colors. There's going to be times in our lives when we're going to gain colors. But at any given point in time, we have the colors that we need to be happy. And at any given point in time, we can take those colors and draw a beautiful picture with those colors. We don't need to have all the colors. We can take the colors that we have and draw a beautiful picture with those colors. Gratitude is taking those colors that we have and making a beautiful picture instead of wishing and wanting on the colors that we don't have. Do you remember in podcast number 6, I talked about Jim Bernardi? He was a friend of ours that was blown up in a booby trap in Vietnam. He lost both of his legs, one of his arms, one of his eyes, and within 2 weeks, he lost his mother. She passed away. He lost some great colors, but he still had some great colors. He had a sense of humor that served him well. He was driven and hardworking. In fact, he became Mr. Handicap Colorado, and then he became Mr. Handicap America. He gained some colors. He married one of the nurses, and they had children. But one thing that impressed me about Jim is that at any point in time, in any point in his life, he had the colors that he needed to be happy, and he did amazing things with those colors. Sure, I'm sure he was sad when he lost some colors, but it didn't stop him from living life. And I remember reading this article thinking, okay, I'm not going to let it stop me either. I'm not going to stop living just because I don't have the color of marriage, which would have been my pink. That's what I wanted. And sometimes it's tempting just to sit back and think, darn it, I'm not married. I feel awkward in these situations. I'm just not going to attend this or go to that because I don't have the color of marriage. And I thought, you know what? First of all, that's a lack of gratitude. Instead of being grateful for the colors that I did have, which, by the way, I had some great colors. I had parents that were amazing. I had a great job. I had great friends. I had a house. I had my health. I had some great colors. And I knew that I would be ungrateful and kind of crazy if I did not make a beautiful picture with those colors that I had, if I was just going to spend my life focusing on the colors that I didn't have. Just recently I had a special experience, just actually about a week ago. I met with a guy who is in maximum security over here at the Utah State Prison. On Sundays, Daryl goes to visit with the men in maximum security. There are guys, the guys there have 2 hours a day out of their cell. They are in solitary confinement. And if they choose, they can spend 1 hour of it with an ecclesiastical leader. And this is on Sundays. And so that's where Daryl comes in. Well, he invited me to go with him last Sunday. And we were visiting with this guy who had been in prison for 11 years and will be there for an indefinite period of time. Well, let me just tell you what a great experience this was. First of all, this guy was smiling the whole time. He first took responsibility for his choices. He says, you know what? I made some bad choices. He didn't play the role of a victim. He didn't blame it on his parents' divorce. He didn't blame it on this or that. He said, I made some bad choices. But these were his exact words. Now I live my life in gratitude every single day. And then he named off basically the colors of his life. He said, I have a mom and a dad who keep in touch with me. Most of the guys in here don't have that. I have a brother who keeps in touch. He said, I have a job. I am the only one in maximum security that they let have a job. And he says, I paint the cells and I get paid 40 cents an hour. He goes, I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but I am so grateful. And then he went on to talk about the gratitude he had that he has learned about God. Basically, he named off about 5 colors of his life. Those are practically the only colors that he has. And yet he was so happy. He doesn't enjoy all the colors that we have of freedom or getting in a car and going here or going to a movie and all these different things that we can do. But it was amazing because he had the colors that he needed to be happy. And he was drawing a beautiful picture with those colors. In fact, he talked about how he sees himself as a leader and an example to others, and he's really drawing a great picture with those colors. Can you imagine what that would look like for any of us or our kids to take the colors that we have and be happy with them and not want for any more? I remember years ago talking to a friend and all of her kids were getting married, and I was asking her, so do you have them this Christmas? Are they with their in-laws this Christmas? Or how does that work out in your family? And I remember her telling me that it didn't matter. She said, I'll just take them when they come. Whenever they come to visit will be enough. And you could tell she wasn't even going to enter that game of, well, you were at your in-laws last year, now I want you at mine this year. She said, whenever I get them, that will be enough. It was a great example to me. I remember actually just recently, I was talking with a friend of mine, Hallie, and she gave me permission to mention her name. She is one of the kids that I life coach, and she is amazing. She's 13 years old, and she's just amazing. She's 13 going on 20. She is so sharp. But we were talking about this principle of taking what you have and turning it into enough. So the next week when I visited with her, I said, did you happen to have an example or a situation where you took what you had and you turned it into enough? And she goes, well, actually I did. She said we were in one of her classes and they were ready to take a test. And she said right before we take a test, the teacher goes around the room and gives everyone a high five and says, you can do it, and cheers them on. She said the teacher went around the room, gave us all a high five, and then she went around the room again to give everyone a second high five. But she said when she got to me, she didn't give me a second high five. And for just a minute, she felt jolted. And then she said, I thought, you know what? One was enough. I'll take one and that'll be enough. I was so proud of her. Can you imagine rewiring our young people at this age that no matter what they have is enough? We live in a country where everybody wants more. Kids want more time on their phones, more time gaming, more time with their friends. They want more things, more toys. Husbands and wives want more from each other. Employees want more from their employers. They want more benefits, more time off, more pay. We want more from our waiters or waitresses or more from our government. Imagine what it would look like to take what we have and make it enough. The gratitude and happiness we would feel would be amazing. Well, guess what? They know how to do that in other countries. They already have that down. I have a friend that was in Madagascar for about 3 years, one of the poorest countries in the world. And she said these people are some of the happiest people in the world. And I asked her, I said, well, did you give them anything? Because they're so poor, you'd almost want to give them things. And she said, no. They're so happy. If you give them something, then they want more. Or their friends see what they got and then they want more. What they have is enough and they're very grateful. You just don't want to ruin that. I have another friend, her son is doing some service over in the Marshall Islands. And I get emails every week hearing about his story and his experiences. They are so poor over there. They don't have bathrooms. They go to the bathroom right on the beach and they don't have kitchens and homes and they spear their food every day. And it's so amazing to read his emails. And one of them, I remember he talked about how he thought that he needed cars and motorcycles and all these toys to be happy. And he is now among some of the happiest people in the world. They know what it's like to take what they have and turn it into enough. More colors does not make us more happy. That is one of the lies that the world tries to tell us. If we only had more, we would be happier. Well, this isn't what I intended to talk about in today's podcast, but I couldn't resist revisiting this topic, as it's not only timely, but timeless. Perhaps it can be a good conversation starter as we're with our friends or family on Thanksgiving. Perhaps we can take the time to ask our family members what that would look like to be so grateful that we take what we have and turn it into enough. And of course, re-emphasize the point that gratitude is the key to happiness, which is something that we all seek. That is seriously the reason I was so happy during all those years of being single, when I would rather have been married, having a family. Gratitude is the key to happiness. We are the richest country in the world and arguably the most unhappy. And what a great segue into Christmas. Kids being content with what they have so that they're not even focused on what they might get. And the best way to teach our kids this principle is to live it ourselves. When we talk or complain about wanting more money, more from other people, more things, more vacation time, more of anything, they can't help but follow in our footsteps. We adults need to lead the way and show them how grateful we are and that what we have is enough. I never remember once my parents wanting more. It just wasn't who they were. They were always content with what they had, and if they got more, they were quick to share it with others instead of accumulating more things. So never once did I think that we needed more. We always had enough, even in our poorest times as a family. And I am so grateful for that example. Then as my life evolved and my life was absent of some desires of my heart and some of the colors that my friends had that I wanted too, I knew firsthand how to take what I had and make it enough because my parents had showed the way. Well, I hope you have a beautiful Thanksgiving and thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.